Hey, what's up? This is Harry Wagner from Harry's Situations, and today I want to talk to you about Subarus. Now look, I know normally we're talking about locking differentials and mud terrains and all these off-road oriented topics, so you probably don't know that I love sleepers, but it's true, I do. So some of my past vehicles have included a Volkswagen Touareg, totally mom car, right? But this one had a V10 twin turbo diesel and it made 550 foot-pounds of torque. I also had a Lexus IS 300. That car comes with a 2JZ but naturally aspirated, so threw a turbo on it, had an R series swap in it. It was rear wheel drive, tons of fun, totally broke the hearts of Camaro and Mustang owners. That was a lot of fun. But perhaps the best sleeper of all is the Subaru Outback XT. Now stay tuned and I'll tell you why. Whatever I'm rolling, it's typically on Nitto tires. So that IS 300 I had NT 555s on it, stuck like glue on twisty roads like this. I loved them. Nitto makes tires for nearly every application, from stock vehicles to heavily modified rock crawlers and everything in between. I'm not going to tell you that Nitto is the only company that makes good tires, but they do make great tires. At the end of the day, all I have is my reputation, so I want to partner with companies that I truly believe in. And you hear these names over and over in my videos. You know, Nitto, ARB, ARBs, AEV, American Expedition Vehicles, Nate's Precision. These are all businesses that I spend my hard-earned money with because I think they make the best thing out there. The backstory here is that my fiance had a '97 Subaru Outback that she drove for years back and forth to Tahoe, and that thing was built like a tank. But it was starting to show its age after 285,000 miles, so it was time for a new vehicle. Well, the Touareg honestly wasn't that reliable, and the IS 300 being rear-wheel drive, not going to be the jam in the snow. So we started looking at other options. We considered something like a 4Runner or a Lexus GX 470. I think those are great. They also cost quite a bit more than this Outback did. They also don't come with a manual transmission. That was a big deal to Maxie. So the Outback she had before had a manual. She has a Ram diesel truck that has a G56 manual in it. We're gonna actually make a video about that in the future. That was a factor for her, as was mileage. She puts a lot of miles on a vehicle, and you know, a 4Runner doesn't get great mileage. And that would be before I would modify it, which, let's be honest, if we're riding another Toyota to the stable, I'm gonna modify it. But I'd never modify a Subaru, right? Right? This led us to look at Subarus. My initial thought was get a WRX wagon. Those you can get with a manual and an EJ25 turbo engine. I thought that was great. But it's hard to find one that hasn't been beat, and quite honestly, there is a stigma sort of around these vehicles, you know, regarding vaping and giant wings and super loud exhaust. That exhaust note is distinctive because Subaru uses a boxer engine. So if you think of like an inline engine or a V engine, these are actually horizontally opposed, and that provides that distinctive exhaust note. You'd find them in like a Volkswagen Bug or a Porsche 911, same sort of architecture. There are some downsides. That's why Subarus have issues with head gaskets, leaking valve cover gaskets. And those are just something you have to be aware of if you're considering buying a Subaru. This led us to look toward an Outback, but the 5th gen that started in 2014 was only offered with a CVT. They're not super reliable and they're not that much fun to drive. So we started looking for older ones with a manual transmission. Along the way, I learned that the 3rd gen from 2005 to 2009 was offered in an XT model that had the same engine as the WRX, that EJ25 turbocharged engine with a manual transmission. Once I learned that, the search was on. So I was looking on Craigslist, cars up and down the West Coast. They were going really fast. It was hard to find a clean one, but we actually found this 2009 behind me right in Reno. Really lucked out. Low miles, super clean car. This engine makes 245 horsepower as opposed to the 175 from the naturally aspirated EJ25 that normally comes in these. This has the manual transmission. It's been a great car. It's a ton of fun. First thing I added was a Cobb Accessport tuner. Found one used, so it wasn't very expensive. Adds about another 20 horsepower on top. Just makes the car a lot more drivable and a lot more fun with really minimal trade-offs. The turbo engine in the XT model really is night and day between the naturally aspirated engine and the normal Outback. What I love about this car is up around Tahoe, you see tons of Subarus, and this one looks pretty much like the rest of them out there, quite honestly. I mean, that's part of the sleeper vibe, and the way this car drives with the manual transmission and the turbo engine is night and day compared to having a naturally aspirated engine with an automatic transmission, which is most of what you see around here. Now, if you're a Subaru nerd, you probably already knew all of this, but I'll confess I didn't have much of a background in Subarus, so I've been learning things along the way. There's a movement now, you see a lot of like cross treks that are lifted, they have all-terrain tires on them, aftermarket wheels, and I like that look, I'll confess. I think it looks pretty cool. Now, like anything, you can have too much of a good thing. I see some people and they're adding winches and steel bumpers and swing out tire carriers and rooftop tents to a Subaru. I don't think that that's really a good way to go. If you've learned anything from the videos I've done, it's that I want to work within the design parameters of a vehicle, not too far outside of them. So if that's what you're after, I think a Jeep Cherokee is a better option, quite honestly. But, you know, if you want 1 tons and an LS swap, I don't think a Cherokee is a good thing to start with. So it's all about what you want to do and what your vision is for the vehicle. My vision with this was to have a reliable daily driver that would work good in the snow, be a little out of the box, but still be a sleeper. This is my fiance's daily driver, so the goal was for all of the modifications to be practical, and really that should be the goal anytime you're making a modification. I wanted to modify it, I'll admit, but not stray too far from the stock parameters. So I got a primitive racing 1-inch lift, super inexpensive, just goes on top of the factory strut. This tire here is Nitto's brand new Nomad Grappler, and I've got a few thousand miles on these. So far I've been super pleased. Nitto came out with a tire specific to this crossover market, you know, things like Outbacks, RAV4s, Crosstreks. It's a great tire. If you look at it, the first thing you notice is there's 2 big grooves running around the tire. That shows you that deep tread depth. Those really help with steering. They keep you going straight. They're helpful for hydroplaning because water can evacuate through there. And if you look at the inner tread blocks, they're tighter and there's a lot of sipes. So sipes are these little cuts in the tires, and those are helpful for a variety of reasons. They let water evacuate or snow. They also keep the tread cooler because they can conform to whatever you're going over. Now the downside is on something that you spin, you know, something that you use off-road in like Ultra 4 racing application, you wouldn't want all those little cuts because they can cause the tire to chunk. If you look closely at these tires, they're actually segmented in there. It's not just a straight cut, and that manufacturing process is more involved, but it's the extra effort that Nitto puts in to ensure this high performance tire. By having the grooves go along the circumference of the tire, you don't have a lot of noise like you would have if you look at like a mud grappler. Most of the big tread blocks and voids are going this direction across the face of the tire, and that gives you a lot of biting edges, but it also makes noise every time they kind of slap against the ground. These tires are very quiet, more aggressive than a factory tire or a normal all-season, but not so aggressive that you make a bunch of compromises in terms of like weight or noise or tread wear. I couldn't be happier with these Nomad Grapplers. I think they're a perfect application for this Subaru Outback. We added 1-inch larger diameter tires, so the stock tire size is a 225/55 R17. 225 is the section width, 55 would be the percentage of that's the sidewall height, and then 17 is the rim diameter. So I went to a 225/60 R17, just a little taller sidewall, about 1 inch taller than stock, but fit on the stock wheels, definitely fit that sleeper look. We also added a primitive racing skid plate underneath the front, and that really is going to help in that deep snow that we get around Truckee and Tahoe. You know, if there's ice or rocks hidden in there, I just figured it's going to protect the oil pan a little better. You can't even really see it, but it's nice insurance knowing that it's there. Like usual, all these parts were installed at Nate's Precision. They're my go-to. They are not a Subaru shop per se. They're really more into Jeeps and off-road vehicles, but they did me a favor and put all these parts on and quickly and inexpensively. That's why I think this Subaru Outback XT is the best sleeper around. Disagree? Agree? Comment below and let me know what you think the best sleeper is. And while you're at it, let us know if you want to see more videos like this from Hairy Situations, or you want me to stick to my bread and butter and talk about tons and 40s.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.